We have seen a lot of crazy posts from Donald Trump over the past couple of weeks, months, and really years. But what he put out on Truth Social last night really takes the cake for insanity, because after a really horrible picture of Donald Trump that is in the state capitol leaked out, Donald Trump just melted down, threw a temper tantrum, and decided to share it himself because he was so upset with it. It's just an absolutely insane story that we are going to get into. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, this photo in the Colorado State Capitol had Donald Trump very upset with Jared Polis. And so before we get into what he had to share, I want to hear from Jamie Raskin about the threats that Donald Trump has made to other important public officials.
So we can see there's a problem here, to state the obvious, and we're faced with some tough questions. I mean, what is the solution? And what is our system able to do? And again, those are tricky questions to answer, because his history, as I've noted here, doesn't exactly serve as a guide. Joining me now is Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland. He's the top Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee. He is the perfect person to talk to about historical precedent, the moment we're in, all of the things. So let me just start with kind of where I ended there. I mean, you've said there's an attack on the Constitution. That feels very clear here. I think a question a lot of people have is, what can be done to stop it?
We got 125 cases that have been filed across the country, and 50 federal courts have already entered temporary restraining orders or preliminary injunctions against Trump. So let's start with the positive news that the courts are working, they're doing their job. That's why they're talking about impeaching all these federal judges. That's why they're attacking Judge Boasberg for insisting on answers, because you can't disobey an order of a federal court. As Chief Justice Roberts emphasized this week, the proper response to disagreement with the substance of a judicial opinion is to appeal the opinion, not to try to impeach the judge, certainly not for people to go out and visit threats upon the judge and the judge's family. And so we've got to play these cases out in court. The Trump administration has just thrown caution to the winds. I mean, the great example of this, of course, is the birthright citizenship executive order. The first sentence of the 14th Amendment says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. It is just as plain as day. And we have Obama judges, Biden judges, Reagan judges, Trump judges, all striking down what Trump did. In fact, the Reagan judge said it was the easiest case he'd ever decided in his life. You don't have to be a lawyer to know what's wrong with you. You just have to know how to read. And in case after case, they say, you have just totally blown past the Constitution. So we've got to stand up for the independence of the judiciary. And we see this happening all over the world now, that when courts block an autocratic executive or someone with dictatorial ambitions, they begin to attack the judges, they attack the lawyers, they attack the law firms. That's what's happening in America right now. And so the whole country has got to stand up for the independence of the judiciary and for the rule of law.
Donald Trump has been talking nonstop about the weaponization of the DOJ. But now the conversation is, how can he weaponize the DOJ? Before, it was lies saying that President Biden was doing so in an effort to hold him accountable for constantly breaking the law, which, of course, Joe Biden wasn't weaponizing the DOJ. If he was, it would have made sense, considering Donald Trump being a criminal and all. But now Donald Trump is going after his political enemies, and it doesn't matter what for. The tiniest thing sets him off. He is a man full of grievance, which is why I am currently scared for Governor Jared Polis, considering what Donald Trump just posted. Again, absolute insanity. I apologize if I start laughing halfway through this, but Trump wrote, "No one likes a bad painting or picture of themselves, but the one in Colorado in the state capitol put up by the governor along with other presidents was purposely distorted to a level that I, perhaps, have never seen before. The artist also did President Obama, and he looks wonderful, but the one of me is truly the worst. She must have lost her talent as she got older. In any event, I would much prefer not having a picture than having this one. But many people from Colorado have called and written to complain. In fact, they are actually angry about it. I am speaking on their behalf to the radical left governor, Jared Polis, who is extremely weak on crime in particular. with respect to Trende Aragua, which particularly took over Aurora. Don't worry, we saved it to take it down. Jared should be ashamed of himself. And then Donald Trump shared the actual photo in which he just looks a little bit younger, but certainly a little bit puffier in the face. And then went on to share this picture of himself, just his official portrait out of nowhere. How does this man have the nuclear codes? This is the guy we are trusting. This is the president who in the middle of the night is tweeting that he looks ugly in a photo. Maybe it's just because, breaking news, you are ugly. That's what you look like. I would say that the artist even makes Trump look younger. Now, sure, he's got a little bit of puffiness in the jowls going, but that's what he looks like. Has he not seen a photo of himself? I feel like all he ever does is look at himself and talk about himself. I guess he just has a distorted reality. But like, are we serious? The economy is collapsing because of Donald Trump. The stock market is plummeting. People are losing their jobs by the tens of thousands in the public and private sector. Everything is going terribly. And he's focused on a portrait of himself in the Colorado State Capitol. What is happening? What does our world come to? And sure, it's a little bit funny how dumb he looks, but this is just like serious, that this is his focus. We've talked about it a lot, but Donald Trump up here, losing it now more than ever. But thankfully, there are Democrats who are actually out there fighting. And speaking of Colorado, that is where we saw AOC and Bernie just the other day calling out Donald Trump's administration for its focus not on portraits, but on making your life worse. And I want to take a little look at some of the stuff that AOC had to say in her speech right here.
But I am here to remind you all that we are not powerless in this moment. People are starting to put the pieces together. And ironically, the most divisive forces in this country are actually starting to bring more of us together. And that's important. Because the same billionaires who are taking a wrecking ball to our country derive their power from dividing working people apart. They specialize in getting us to turn on one another along lines of left or right, of race and gender, of status, of creed, of culture, of who you love. They will throw out every label and judgment and cultural debate in the book in order to keep us distracted, because the last thing they want us to realize is that the actual division in this country is between those at the very, very top and their endless greed costing the lives of everyone else. And that's why we must stand together, Arizona. We got to get ready for this fight. Now, I understand that their disdain for working people by some of the most powerful people in this country doesn't just come from not being raised right, okay? This disdain is shorthand for the right's entire political agenda and a certain ugly kind of politics in this country. And that is lying to and screwing over working and middle-class Americans so that they can steal our health care, Social Security, and veterans benefits in order to pay for their tax cuts for the billionaires and bailouts for their crypto friends. And you know what, Arizona? There's a certain kind of word for this kind of thing: corruption. And I understand what it feels like to watch all of this stack up. How overwhelming and brazen all this selfishness is, the constant headlines and notifications, dismantling the Department of Education, trying to end birthright citizenship, the things that make us American. I understand how overwhelming it can feel. And it can make even the best of us want to give in to despair, to feel tired, to feel like there's not much worth fighting for. Because when the system is stacked against you, it's hard to feel like anything you do matters. It's hard to feel like we matter in this democracy. And it is easy to give in to the despair. And I can tell you, I know that when I was waitressing and struggling to put food on the table, for a while there, I did. I tried to stop caring. I tried to just keep my head down, work my shifts, and accept that this is just how things are. But that is no way to live, Arizona. It's no way to live. What I do know is that we don't have to live like this. And in fact, we cannot live like this anymore. And you know, I'll tell you, Donald Trump does see the immense pressure that working people are under. But his answer to that pressure is an America that operates on a logic of every man for himself. And I do say every man for himself because he sure doesn't believe in women's rights. But now that Trump is back in power, we can see it clear as day. He's handed the keys of this country to Elon Musk and is selling off the United States for parts to the richest people on the planet for a kickback. And in exchange, these billionaires and corporations and lobbying industries will back his campaigns and fund them as well as those of his allies. They scratch his back and he scratches theirs, and the rest of us get left behind.
That is what I'm talking about. I absolutely love it. I am so glad that AOC is on this tour with Bernie as well. We saw yesterday Ro Khanna, who we are going to be talking to tomorrow at the Capitol. So stay on the lookout for that. But we have Democrats out there filling this messaging vacuum that Republicans left behind, fighting the good fight. We're going to be talking about it every single day on the show. And if you want to support that and support us making fun of how ugly Donald Trump looks, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. Oh, man. And until next time, I'll see you soon.